Now, with that new study suggesting there's a link between babies' screen time and speech delays. Our senior medical contributor, Dr. Jennifer Ashton, is here. So, did you see this video that was a while back where a baby had a magazine? Did you all see this? And thought it was a screen and kept trying to swipe at right there.
I mean, look, they can learn a lot, both for the good and the bad. But I think the key is any parent knows when a baby is crying, it's your.
Hi everyone, welcome to yet another episode of House of Cure presents Doc Talk. Today we are with Dr. Zai Kolvankar. She's a bachelor's in occupational therapy and she's also done her master's in occupational therapy in developmental disabilities. So Dr. Zai, we are glad to have you on the show with us.
I'm also glad to be here.
Okay, so getting straight into it, the reason why we thought we could have a chat with you is because what's been happening is what the trend these days due to COVID and work from home has also shifted to study from home, and a lot of kids are basically entering their school on screen for the first time. I'm sure you and I have different memories of school. When we started, and even our parents have different memories of how school starts and how we interact with so many kids, and we come back with stories from school, and it's an exciting period in any child's life. But now what's happening is that all of the children are basically just they basically start their schooling from the screen. That's something we've noticed with the latest generation of kids. So we were thinking that this would, how would this impact their social lives in the future? Or, what do you think would happen when the restrictions finally loosen up and then kids finally go to school and meet other kids? How do you think that will play out?
So, like you rightly said, with the whole pandemic and the COVID-19, what has happened is we were forced into, a whole aspect of social distancing. And because of the social distancing, what has happened is everybody was confined to their homes. And like you said, that we have different memories of like pre-COVID and, post-COVID and like during the whole pandemic. With the kids, with the really young kids, what is happening is their social interaction has like a completely different avenue to it. They didn't really interact how typically children are supposed to interact in that earlier age group. So what has happened is it's like they're confined to smaller places, and they don't really, not everybody has an access to kids of the similar age group, or have that access to be in a safer surrounding where the kids can go in a playground and go into open spaces, which has definitely impacted their physical as well as their mental development. It has also kind of contributed to their restrictions to these interactions have also impacted their motor development, and also the cognitive development. The whole social aspect of development of play in them is completely different. They are more exposed to having screens around them. They're more exposed to having play restricted to smaller spaces. So all of these things have really impacted their typical growth. So and it's definitely something that's it's a unique situation. Nobody knew how to basically approach this, and it's only after a while that even parents started noticing that, oh, what, the child is 3-year-old. Like, the child entered the pandemic when he was 2. The child is now 3-year-old, but he is not really interacting the way my older child is interacting. Some parents noticed because they had an older child, but with other kids, with other set of families, what was happening is that's their first kid, and they don't know what is the typical development like, and they are like, okay, maybe he'll start talking. Usually it's not something that early intervention is considered initially. They're like, okay, the first thought doesn't come, there's something wrong with my child. It's
Yeah.
like basically maybe, it's something that somebody points out when they go for a developmental pediatrician appointment, or when they have been asked to get an occupational therapy evaluation done, or, any sort of evaluation done, it's identified. And that's when the whole trail starts, wherein, oh, you know what, because social interaction is hampered because of the pandemic. So those are the scenarios that I've personally come across in my like the professional aspect.
How will they cope up with going back to school or going to school for the first time?
Yeah. So see, there are going to be multiple scenarios to this. There can be a scenario where there is absolutely no impact. Kid is going to be integrated in the regular aspect of doing things, which I don't see happening anytime soon. But still, the kid doesn't show any, concern as such. But there's a possibility that the child absolutely shows anxiety around just stepping out of the house, and then, just stepping out outside the compound, because that's the space he was confined to. And then there is a possibility of having some sort of negative experiences because of that. So, like, I personally like have met families who's had difficulties with respect to getting the child out of the house for the first time after the whole pandemic. When it started easing back in September 2020, it was the first time the child was even going out of the compound, and the child refused to go out of the compound. I mean, this is the experience that I have heard of. So I'm pretty sure that there are it's not the typical way of living. You are confined to smaller places, so
Right.
that's definitely going to have an impact. And then kind of some parents, I mean, they have work from home. They have because of the restrictions, the house help couldn't come home, so they were also sort of taking care of the work in the house. So with a child in the house, doing your office work, doing all the housework, then giving time to the child, it just becomes, they're just stretched at too many places. And
Correct.
as a repercussion of that, a lot of kids were exposed to screen time. I mean, they were just sort of sitting in front of the TV watching all sorts of cartoon, or all sort of playing all sort of video games, or YouTube. I mean, that has been the rescue for a lot of parents.
You rightly said that a lot of everybody's been stretched, especially in the first lockdown. Everybody's been really stretched thin to, on the work aspect, the children aspect, the household chores, all of these coming together. It becomes like a very easy escape for anybody to rely on, things like YouTube or the television set to distract the kid, because it just makes it a little bit easier that the kid's distracted, I can do a little bit of work. Okay, the kid's distracted, maybe I can get some household chores done. But don't you think this would lead to some sort of a screen addiction for the child?
Oh, definitely. I mean, along with screen addiction, there are going to be a lot of other difficulties. Like, I can name a few wherein, what happens is, like, as we mentioned earlier, that, the child is going to be engaged in something, and screen being highly stimulating, the child is going to sit in front of the screen, and basically the child is going to be safe. The child is not going to get up and, sort of go on an adventure where he might harm himself, when the parents are probably busy doing their house chores. And
Right.
I mean, that's the easier option that they had. And like, a lot of families are nuclear families, so they don't really have maybe a person looking out for the child when both the parents are busy, and there is no role third person to take care of the child in that situation. Because initially, a lot of house nannies also just sort of packed their bags and left, because of all
Yeah.
the chaos that was there. I mean, a lot of families had to sort of lose their house help because of that, because the house help just got up and went to their own
Yeah.
families because of the whole the scare around the pandemic. So because of because of that, it was just the two parents and the child alone. In some cases, maybe another sibling around. But in a situation like that, it was just a good escape, a good rather, I don't want to call it an escape because, well, I personally haven't been in that situation, so it's very easy for me to say escape. But I know maybe probably the ones who've gone through it, and
Yeah, it
they
must be
know the
different.
real
Yeah,
aspects of it. Yeah,
absolutely.
of course. I mean, definitely, it's a good option than having the child fall into some sort of trouble and get hurt. But screen time has a lot of drawbacks than any good that can happen for a child that in that age group. For a child who is in the earlier years, it's just not recommended. 0 to 5 is any which way is considered where the most of the brain development happens. You know and if we are going to kind of sort of take those meaningful experiences from the child away, which is, I mean, unfortunate because of the pandemic, and and give the child maximum screen time exposure, it's really going to have repercussions. I mean, it's really going to have a bad impact on the child's development. And like again, with the whole screen time aspect, I mean, not all the screen times are bad, right? I mean, some of the screen time, in that screen time also, like now a lot of educational schooling and all those things are happening virtually, like you said, everything
Right.
has gone online. So that sort of screen time is okay, because that those are interactive screen times. But
Yeah, that's something that I
when the
wanted
child,
to get into. That's something that I wanted to
yeah,
get into, where there are different types of videos available, right? On YouTube or on
yeah,
TV. There are sometimes there are just stories going on the screen. Sometimes there's just music. Sometimes there's people dancing on the screen. Sometimes it's just nonsense that's going on screen. Just colors and all of that. So it doesn't make a difference on what kind of content is being viewed by the child.
no, definitely. I mean, of course, if the child is going to watch some sort of video, like, when I say video, it includes all the rhymes, all the cartoon that they watch, all the kids show that they watch. Like, this is one category. The other category is where the child is playing a video game, or nowadays there is this whole thing when the child is not allowed to play a game. What they do is they watch the videos of that game being played on YouTube. I mean, those games have really, highly stimulating graphics. Like those graphics that they have are highly visually stimulating, and they're meant to be like that to catch our attention. So
Right.
those sort of videos, then like actually playing a video game, that's also another thing which is very rare in our earlier age group. But then they
Right.
end up watching those games. Like you said, they can be watching a rhyme. The rhyme also, if you look at it for 5 minutes, my eyes start hurting. The colors are so bright, and as they say that kids retinas are like, they catch more colors than the adult retinas. So again, that's also some that also impacts. I mean, there have been
Yeah, that's
studies
a
in UK. Yeah, so there have been studies in UK where they took the EEGs of people watching videos, people watching all these like educational videos, people watching all these game videos, people actually playing videos, and then people having a video call. And there was a drastic difference. I mean, the people, I mean, there was definitely, I mean, like now how we are talking, like you and I are talking, and there isn't a lot of movement. Maybe just my hands are moving, but there isn't much movement. And our facial expression, that's the only aspect that's moving. But when you're watching a movie, there's a lot of movement happening, so that's going to stimulate us. Like in a similar way, when the child is doing class online, like schooling online, there's not much of movement happening. So that's not going to stimulate the child's brain the way a, a video or a rhyme or a story would stimulate the child. And see, again, the graphics makes a lot of difference, because what is going to happen is, first is the child is going to sit in one place and watch it with full focus and attention on the screen. What is going to happen is their visual system and their auditory system is going to get overstimulated, while their other systems, like the other sensory systems, are not going to get stimulated. And that's basically going to cause some sort of mismatch, which will definitely have some sort of impact on the development of the child. When we say that the brain development happens, most of the brain development happens in the earlier age group, then there is a possibility of having some sort of impact. The frequency of it, or the I'm falling short of that word, but like the impact, the intensity of that impact may be different, but definitely there is going to be an impact.
That's definitely like, I mean, I think we pointed out the problem with, the current situation with screens and all of that being in picture. But how do you think, as an occupational therapist, how do you think you would help somebody who is probably stuck in this situation where either the child is, hooked onto screens, or either, they want to just have a better time with the child in general, play in a manner that is better for the child? What would be your tips in that situation?
The best thing to do, and as an occupational therapist, I'm going to say that set a routine, making a routine around all the occupations. And when I say occupations, basically the activities that the person does in the entire day. And sticking around a routine helps to have sort of like a order to what the person is doing. And when there is an order in with respect to what is expected next from me, it just becomes like a nice flow. And I mean, it's a good thing that we learn as an adult, like some sort of order, to have some sort of routine. When we introduce this order for a child, then the child also know that this is how it is going to be. Initially, when we were all completely confined, this was an easier way to engage the kids. But
Yeah.
now that we are coming out of it, what is happening is the child is not understanding, oh, I mean, this was okay earlier, and why isn't it okay now?
Now, correct.
Like that sort of discrepancy happens into the child's understanding that, how can the thing which was okay earlier be not okay right now? So what the parents can do is, or whoever the adult who taking care of the child do is, they can set a routine. They can set a routine and ease the child into the routine. The best way to start to form a routine is what time the child goes to bed. If the child goes to bed at the proper, at the right correct time, then the child is going to wake up at the correct time. And when the child wakes up, what sort of experiences the child is going to have, like, having some sort of some sort of snack immediately when the child wakes up. And when I say snack, it need not be anything elaborate. It can be just dry fruits and some fruits, having like a banana and like walnuts and raisins.
So that kind of sets like the first first step of the routine.
Yeah, because the child is going to wake up and the child is going to be hungry. So, and it's also what has happened is why I went to routine, and I first thing that I said about is about food is because a lot of behaviors have set in, because of the whole the engagement aspect of the screen time. A lot of behaviors also set in. So what we have to do is we have to make sure routinely providing the basic needs for the child. Like there has to be, like a fixed time for the child's meal time. There has to be fixed time for the child's play time. In that play time also structured and non-structured, wherein in structured, the mother and the child are playing, or maybe the father and the child are playing, and they are actually doing some interactive activities with each other. It can be sensory play, it can be just physical play, it can be doing some sort of artwork, like anything. It can be anything that they're doing, but it's structured. And the second thing that the parents can do, or the adults can do for the child, is just let the child be in a supervised space wherein they are provided with whatever they want. Or you can set like a like a display of all their toys, and they can just pick whatever they want and play by themselves. All of these things are really important, because what has happened with the screen time, they don't have to do anything to get their their nervous system, their sensory system stimulated. It's just sitting in front of the screen and
everything happens
getting the
on its
things.
own.
Yeah, and there's no physical movement as such happening. But when the child is given that opportunity, where the child is himself or herself exploring the toys, a lot of sensory as well as the motor aspect is being used. So that helps. So, and this happens when there is a set routine for the child. Like if there is sort of like the parent makes a routine and puts it that, okay, 12 o'clock is going to be the child's playtime. So it's there in the back of the parent's mind also, and it doesn't become like, oh, and now what will I give the child? And when there are toys there, they don't have to think that, oh, what I'm going to do. And it's every day is not going to be like, oh, I don't know now what to do with the child,
Right,
what to
right,
play with
right.
the kid. It's like it just kind of goes on autopilot when we just sit down, set a routine for the child, and then things are going in autopilot.
Now, I think we've established pretty much that screen time is not great. We're pretty much aware of that. Well, not all screen time is bad either. If it's a slightly unstimulating screen time, I think that should be fine to a particular, in a time limit. But a
Yeah.
lot of people, a lot of parents who've been like completely dependent on screen for for all the activities of the child. What would your recommendation be? How would they fill that gap? Now suddenly taking the screen time away, how would you approach that problem of filling up those spaces which are now empty, where there will be no screen time for the kids? How else can we fill that space up?
Yeah, so the most important thing that they actually can do with the child after stopping the screen time with respect to all the videos and video games and YouTube and all these rhymes and stories, what they can do is they can productively use the screen time for the child to getting to know the other family members. So the parents can set up like sort of virtual meetings with the other extended families, relatives, or they can set up play dates. There has been this whole like the virtual play dates work very fine, and the kids get to interact with each other. The best thing to do with the screen time, not giving the child the mobile phone. that's that's the most important thing, because what happens is the focus narrows down to a very smaller space. Instead, if you're giving the child a screen time, and if there is that liberty to show that whole thing on a bigger screen, and the child is
Oh,
sitting away from the screen, like
so it's not the
maybe
only thing
sort of.
that the child doesn't basically zone
Yeah.
in on something.
Yeah.
Like
Yes.
the whole bigger picture is in front of him, so he can interact with others as well as
Yeah.
be engaged by the
Yeah.
screen.
Yes. I mean, if it's possible for the parents to screen the Zoom meeting, or any virtual platform meeting, if they can do it on the television screen, that's wonderful. If they can't, they do it on a computer screen, like a laptop screen, but it's kept far off, at least 3 meter difference from the
Hmm.
distance. 3 feet, sorry, 3 feet distance from the screen the child has. The child is not into the screen and like sort of getting into the whole thing, and that will also make a lot of difference for those interaction. And now when they set up a play date, for example, what they can do is they can plan the play date with the other child and the parent, and they can keep those things ready and engage with the child. That also can be a structured thing. The other thing, like coming out of the pandemic, what the parents can do is they can communicate with the child like responsible adults. I mean, kid as young as 8 months can reason, can understand reasoning. you know if you talk to them about what are the emotions around this particular situation, it's not something which only the child should be scared of. This is something, the pandemic has been something that even the adults have been scared of. So we communicate that with the kid. What happens is the child understands the concerns around it, and they need to be involved. They need to understand the dangers around it. So be consistent, considerate when in telling the child also, that okay, this current situation is causing frustration for me as well. Be true with your emotions, communicate those with your child, create a safe space for the child. When you show your emotions, be it good or bad, the child feels safe to show their emotions as well, and they feel that certain things they've been acknowledged. And of course, I mean, you will have to set rules and set some certain rules and boundaries for the child. Like no screen times means no screen time, and that needs to happen as a family. I mean, we spoke about the nuclear families, and there have been really large families staying together also, where it becomes really difficult to then confine the child to one room and the adults are watching the television. It's a
Correct.
wrong message that we are giving, where the adults are allowed to watch this television but the child isn't. So this is something which the family has to make a decision as a whole, wherein we nobody watches TV when the child is awake. you know So that's something that families have to sort of take into consideration. Yeah.
But I think that's a pretty good, talk about, screens, kids, and, what happens to kids, especially in this time. I think it was a very important, relevant topic to speak about this, since a lot of kids
Yeah.
are entering school now, and we've had a
Yeah.
lot of lockdown babies, and those kids are entering school right now, and it's going to be a tough time because nobody's exposed to this situation.
Like with the vaccination, the adults, the adults are vaccinated, but what has happened is the kids are still not vaccinated. So we don't know how long, how much more time are the kids going to be confined, at least in big set cities like Bombay. We don't know how long they're going to be confined to homeschooling, like this sort of virtual medium of schooling. So we definitely need to take into consideration the whole usage of productive screen time, instead of just sort of using screen time for their engagement, which is not going to cause any sort of nourishment for the brain. And I mean, technology is a boon and a bane. I mean, it's a known fact. So might as well use it to our advantage than
In the right way,
kind of
yeah.
falling to the repercussions of it.
Covered a lot of bases in general, and I think we've talking about screen time and talking about kids in this particular generation. What would your golden nugget be? What's your take home message for anybody viewing this video?
So observing for the signs and symptoms which they see are away from the typical development. And of course, I mean, it's difficult to identify on your own, and it's best to take a professional's help. So we at Yellow, the center, are huge advocate of early intervention, and early intervention targets as a preventive approach than a treatment approach. So just getting an assessment done might just give clarity about what if there are any difficulties or concerns around the child, and if there are, what can be the way forward. So I mean, if the parents feel that they've let the child have a lot of screen time with respect to engaging them, and and now the child doesn't engage in any sort of basic activities, like suppose the meal times are in front of screens, or like the child's toileting is in front of screen, or whenever the child is taken out, the child really doesn't engage or interact with others, but the child needs a screen to be there sitting in one place. So if those are the concerns, then I would definitely recommend to get an evaluation done, to just be safer, to just be on a side where they understand. Yeah. And it doesn't take a lot, like a professional insight will help them also to understand what is the concern, if at all there is a concern. So it's just better to take it, and it helps. I mean, it's a good thing for the kids. Yeah,
absolutely. I think I hope this message hits a home run with all of our parents. And so thank you so much. I think this has been a nice chat.
Yeah, same here. It was nice talking to you, and this is my favorite topic. So yeah, I love talking about it.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, all right. Thank you so much for having me here.
All right.